Lakeland PBS presents Common Ground, brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota. Production funding of Common Ground is made possible in part by First National Bank Bemidji, continuing their second century of service to the community. Member FDIC.
Welcome to Common Ground. I'm producer-director Scott Knudsen. In this season 12 finale, Jay Solberg of the Clearbrook area grows a giant pumpkin to compete in his community.
The last weekend in September, the city of Gonvick holds Pumpkin Days. It's a giant pumpkin contest. Hey, my name's JJ Solberg, and I'm gonna try to show you how to grow giant pumpkins. I started growing about 5 years ago and got really addicted to it. We'll go into town and see how big they actually got them, and it seemed like it'd be a good thing to do, and I'm pretty competitive, so I wanna try to beat these guys. And these guys got a lot of time on me, 25 years probably. So I've kind of taught myself a lot of things, but I've also did tons of research online. So everything about these things is online if you need information. The biggest thing is the seed itself. You can buy a seed, but it might not be the genetics you're looking for. I recommend going through other growers. There's other people that do this all over the world. The biggest secret, I think, there's no secret. It's genetics. It's right here. So today, I'm going to show you how I start my seed and get one out in the garden, get her growing. Here are my seeds I got. This is from last year's pumpkin. You can kind of tell some are bigger than others, some might be deformed. I'll try to pick out one that looks nice. Then I'll take it, and what I'll do is I do not touch the end here. I'm going to sand off the sides so it germinates faster and sprouts quicker. I took off the side. I didn't get too deep in there. You get too deep, you'll see the inside, and that's no good. After I sand them, I'll take and write which seeds they are on a cup, and I'll soak them in water for about 4 hours. So after that, I just use regular Miracle-Gro potting soil, and I'll put them in the cups, and I take a heat lamp, and I set it up, and I try to keep it about 85 degrees. And I keep up the watering it. You'll see it start to dry out. Just keep up the water, and it usually takes about 4 days, and they're germinated. Some people put heat pads underneath here. This, for me, works the best. So probably on the 5th or 6th day, they'll sprout, and there'll be 2 leaves. They'll just come up and be 2 leaves. After the 2 leaves, you'll get your 3rd leaf. And when this comes, you want to get them out in the ground because the roots on these things are expanding very fast. And they're starting to wilt a little bit because their roots need to be spread out. So that's why we'll get them in the ground today. This one here is 1,103 pound pumpkin it come out of. This one here is a 1,348 pound pumpkin. And this is one I grew 3 years ago that was 1,008 pounds. But I'm gonna go with 1,348 and one of my own, the 1008. They both look very aggressive. They're already starting to spread the main vine here. So once they get out in the ground, it's gonna take off. So those are the 2 I'm going with, and come July, we'll be pollinating and then get a pumpkin going, and August will be the month where we hopefully put on 30, 40 pounds a day for a week or so. So come on. Come on. As you can see, I got these hoop houses made. Biggest thing right now for these pumpkins is the wind, and it's kind of windy today. once I get them in here, I gotta kind of monitor the temperature. I want it to stay about 80, 85 degrees. So some days like today, it's pretty hot in here now. I'll probably have to open up one end, get some air going through there, but we'll lift this up and get it in the ground. So what I do, I dig a hole and I get this potting soil. I'll just take a little fertilizer, this nitrogen and potassium. As you can see, the third leaf is here. My plant is going to run this way. It's in the ground now. This will be my root. Hopefully it's about that big. My secondaries will run this way, and my pumpkin will be probably 15 to 18 feet to the south here. So let's get this down and covered up. I'm just gonna put some dirt around the outside just so the wind doesn't blow it away. Wow, it's hot in there. Well, it's July 5th and I figure I'm about a week behind schedule, but we've had weather that's up and down. It's been so cold and then it got so hot, and the plant we had in the hut died. So I transplanted another one in there and they're doing all right. I'm trying to keep up with watering, but they need Mother Nature to help out a little bit too. So like I said, you need good genetics, you need luck, and I'm not having much luck right now. But just keep our fingers crossed and see what happens here. But I'm gonna show you how to train the plant. If you planted this thing and just let it go, it'd be just a big mess. So we're gonna train it, move the vines, berry vines, and hopefully they start taking off. These are secondaries coming off the main vine. There is a pumpkin that's gonna be started out probably 10 feet. Probably not gonna want that one. Hopefully to get a little further, but we'll take what we can get this year. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna train this plant. So each secondary is gonna come out like this, and they'll probably run almost to the edge of the garden, and the same on the other side. What we'll do now, once we get training our vines, we're gonna bury them. When I do this, I'll take a shovel and just take some of this fresh dirt, shovel in there like that. You can see that the vine is buried. I leave about a foot, and hopefully each day now we'll be out to here, and be out to here, and out to here. And hopefully the plant just starts blowing up and gets really, really big. Well, as we bury the vines, as it's growing out, it's gonna help out by doubling your plant. You're gonna get another root. And then, like, one of the worst things for these plants are wind. So, when the dirt's around here, I mean, you can take and kind of prop that up like that. By putting the dirt, you're doing two things: creating more roots and stabilizing the plant. So it's a very crucial part to growing a giant pumpkin. So while we're burying the vines, we're creating another root. So if you look right here on this plant, see that? It's another root. So I'm just gonna shovel some dirt back there and let it filter in. And then as I do this, if I want this vine, see how it's kind of heading this way? I'm just gonna put it over here. add a little more dirt. You don't want to bend them too much, but you can move these vines around pretty good. But if you don't do this once in a while, it just gets to be a really big mess. You'll see some flowers in the back. Those are males. We will eventually pollinate this thing. We don't want to cross-pollinate with anything else. I got squash on the other side here, so you don't want the bee going over to the squash and then landing on this pumpkin. It's going to mess it all up. So you want to keep the genetics. We're either going to cross them or self-pollinate them. So that's when we take the males, which have long stems. You can plainly see how long the stem is, 8-9 inches there, with a flower on top. And it's got the stamen in it, and you have a female, which has a little pumpkin started to grow on the bottom. It's probably about 2 days away for this flower to open up, and I'll come out early in the morning when she's opened up, and I will cut some of these male ends off and pollinate it myself. That pumpkin there, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 secondaries behind it. Like to have more, but that's the only pumpkin we get. That's what we're gonna have to go with. We're gonna have more secondaries out here, but I'd like to be further out. But last time we were here, our secondary was out there, so it's still continuing growing. As it grows, bearing the vine, just keep on bearing it. Up here on my main vine at about 12 feet probably, I have a female up here. When they're small like this, I don't want the sun hitting them, so I'll just keep a rag on them. And the big leaves protect them too, but just don't want that sun beating on that skin, otherwise it dries it out. This pumpkin I used a Band-Aid when I pollinated. Works good, nothing got in there. The pumpkin is doing awesome, I think. It's got a nice long stem on the back, and it was a good pollination. It's been about 10 days since the day I pollinated it. So I took my main vine and I'm doing an S curve with my main vine. I'm gonna crank my main vine this way, and then I'm gonna bring it around this way. So I can save this whole area will be for the pumpkin. Another thing you should watch out for as it's growing right now, you wanna make sure your main vine, you got roots behind here. So you wanna get down and cut those roots so the vine comes up with the pumpkin. Otherwise, your stem is gonna be like that. Because this thing will get so big and so fast, you could just snap your stem off the back. So as the pumpkin grows, you're gonna bring this plant up with it, the vines. And it's really simple. You just get underneath, cut your taproots, make sure your secondary is going alongside the pumpkin. They can lift up with it. 2 years ago, I pollinated on July 27th, and that was 1,179 pounds. Now I'm gonna show you how to pollinate the pumpkin. And we do this because we don't want to cross-pollinate. We want to keep these genetics, so to grow a big pumpkin, you don't want to cross-pollinate it with anything. So we're going to take the male flower and put that with the female flower. The bees have been in here doing some work today on these, so you want to try to take as many as you can. It's best 3 at least. So we're going to take our males we collected, and we got a female here. You can see there's a little pumpkin on the bottom. The female flower will be open in the morning. It's closed now, so that'd be called the stigma. And you're gonna take the male ends and put around there, get as much pollen from the male on the female. So what I do there, I take the male, I get rid of the flower, and I'll just sit and dab the pollen on it. At like 8, 9 in the morning, these flowers are opened up. You don't have to open them up like I'm doing. This is on a secondary vine. I will be cutting this one off, so. And I'll just keep getting as much pollen on there as I can. More the better. After that's done, you'll close the female up and use a bread tie. I've used plastic bottles cut in half, shoved over, to-go cups, hair nets. You just don't want anything else getting in there after you pollinate it. Once that's done with it, you got 3 to 4 days and you'll find out if you did it right or not. And if you don't do it right, they'll shrivel up, you'll tell. And then you cut them off eventually. Just get rid of them. July, we're trying to get this plant big. We're trying to get so much power put behind this pumpkin, it's not even funny. Come August, that's when you're gonna see your growth. And then we're gonna be terminating the vines, cutting them off, and we're stopping growth and focusing all the energy on the pumpkin. But right now we're just letting this pumpkin grow and still trying to get as much of a root base out here as we can. By next week I'll have the fence lit up so we don't want any critters in here. Raccoons, bear, deer, because they're out here. Well, we're here in August, and this is the month we've been kind of waiting for. This is the month that's either gonna make us or break us. Usually breaks my heart, but hopefully this year it's gonna go good. This is the first time I've had a plant in this good a shape. I've usually got bad hailstorms in July. It's doing good. We're gonna take our 25-day OTT measurement, it's called. It's 3 measurements. It'll be a circumference measurement, side to side and front to back. And that's just gonna give us an idea how big it is, and we'll figure out from where I measured it before to where it's at and seeing what it's gaining per day. So hopefully we're up into 30 pounds a day right now. I measured it 4 days ago, so we're gonna try to figure out if we need to push this thing more with more water or some calcium, something like that, or it might have to be slowed down, which then we'll maybe cut off some vines, but I'm just gonna probably let it grow, see what happens. And there again, I'm just going straight down off the back side of the pumpkin, come around the top of it, bring it over the front to the board, and 5 foot 9 inches. So I'll do a little bit of calculating here, and my total is 343 minus 220 equals 123. And we're gonna divide that by 4 days, because that's been 4 days. And that's 30 pounds a day. That's good numbers. If it started growing too fast, you got to worry about this end, the blossom end. It'll actually just split open or get a crack. Or you could start cracking along here. It looks really healthy. I don't think it's going to crack or nothing, but at 30 days or 30 pounds a day, that's nice gains right now. So the next 2 weeks, this thing, I'm hoping it starts getting into the 40s. That's when we're going to get her big. So we did a really good job pollinating because every part of that pumpkin's growing. Like I said, one of the things this time of year, as the pumpkin is growing, you want to check vine stress. So we turn this main vine back here this way, and I've been clipping back behind here the taproots. So as the pumpkin gets bigger, it's going to bring this vine up, and we just don't want this part to get too big, too stressed out, and it could snap off. I like the way this thing looks. It's gonna have really big ribs. Like it's gonna be, hopefully these are like 8 inches. You can put your hand in when this thing is grown. I think this thing's gonna look really mean. It's not gonna be all flat and big. I think this thing's gonna be like, ugh. Now in August, the past years, I've always terminated every vine. This year, I'm letting the front of the pumpkin grow still. We got good numbers. But from here back, everything's been cut off and pruned. From here, I got these vines growing still. If my numbers were to drop in the next few days, I might terminate everything. But if I get better numbers, I'll keep these things growing. So maybe in a few weeks from now, I'll get a really big push. I've never did that in the past. I don't know if it's gonna be good or bad. We'll find out. The day of the contest came and it was time to load the pumpkin. Wade Klima, he's been a grower since the beginning, and he ended up getting out of it for a while, and he got back in it because he was diagnosed with an awful disease, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. It's a nervous system disease that weakens your muscles, lose function, and there's no cure right now, so it's awful.
First year, everybody bet a 12-pack. The loser had to give the winner a 12-pack of beer. And it turned out to be like 68 people. So we didn't do the 68 12-packs, but it turned out to be a little event. That's when Ron Hannibal brought that big one in.
More and more I look at it, I'm pretty sure this will be my biggest pumpkin I've grown. Gonvick Pumpkin Days, it's a small town event, but it brings people from all over the region to come to Gonvick to see these big pumpkins.
If you haven't heard, we are taking sign-ups for the prizes at the trailer. So if you have kids or adults that would like to sign up, please come on up.
So many things going on. There's car shows, there's kids games, they have a dance at the bar afterwards, they have a flea market. But it's kind of a good thing in the fall. Everyone's getting together, getting their cars out for the last run before you put them in the barn, and just celebration of the summer and hang out and have a good time.
On your marks, get set, go!
The pumpkin drop gets a lot of people excited. Pumpkin drop is where we take one of the bigger pumpkins up around 1,000 or so, and we lift it up as high as we can, usually about 50 feet, and we fill it up with candy or water, and we let her drop and let the kids either go get slimy or get candy. Good. No, I'll leave that one. There's gold in there. We cut a hole in it, fill it up with candy, and we lift it 50 feet in the air and we drop it and let the kids run in and grab all the candy they want.
Again, this pumpkin is 1,092 pounds. Maybe a little bit more with the candy. If you see Brenda fall, then try to see things that come out. Everybody stay back behind the fence while they do the pumpkin drop.
Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 0 to 5. Grab your candy.
It's a crowd pleaser.
There's way more on here. Next up is JJ Solberg.
Bleeding. I've had enough for the year. I ended up getting second place, but Wade Klima, he got first, and we were all super pumped with that. I was really happy that I beat Tucker and Bobby again. It is what it is. Under 100 pounds. Me and Wade kind of teamed up.
Here we go.
I've been giving him a hand, and that's what our plan is next year, to top that and go for over 2,000 pounds. He's so smart and knows what he's doing. He's did this forever, and if he would have kept on growing, he'd have world record, I'm sure, by now. Maybe this year, next year.
Come on, oh yeah! Yeah!
1,661 pounds. Gonvick, Minnesota.
Tough to beat that pumpkin contest.
Congratulations, Wade.
Join us again next season on Common Ground.
If you have an idea for Common Ground in north central Minnesota, email us at legacy@lptv.org or call 218-333-3014. To watch Common Ground online, visit lptv.org and click local shows. To order episodes or segments of Common Ground, call 218-333-3020. Production funding of Common Ground was made possible in part by First National Bank Bemidji, continuing their second century of service to the community. Member FDIC. Common Ground is brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money by the vote of the people November 4th, 2008. If you watch Common Ground online, consider becoming a member or making a donation at lptv.org.